while we're here. That's crazy.
What's up, everyone?
What is up?
Welcome to Talking Pieces episode 2. This is number 2. We did not drop this after one episode. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, let's go.
Here today, myself, Egg Fried Renge, joined by Edge as usual, and our guest for today, JimothyJimothy. Introduce yourself, my dear friend.
I'm Jimothy.
Oh my god.
It's just, and that's it. And that's all he needs.
That's me.
Yep.
Do we have an introduction slide for him?
We do. But first we have ours. If you don't know me, I do a lot of stuff. I run tournaments, and I run discords and communities. That's me. You also know Renge. He does a lot of that same stuff.
Wow, that's crazy how we basically do the same thing, honestly.
It is
We
true.
do very similar jobs.
Yes.
I don't know.
We're very similar
Also,
people,
we're-
very similar names. Then we have Jimothy here.
I'm paying chauffeur. I did not realize this was the title we gave him. I thought this
Yes.
was gonna say Selena's friend.
Oh wait, there you said.
Now there's some heated debate here in the I would like to say this is more of my fault because after I made this, Jimothy did say that Arisa paid him $5. So there you go.
Dude, how? Dude, gas is.
Can we
cheap,
in California?
Not
how
in
much?
California, dude.
How much does that get
Dude.
you?
Not even a full gallon.
Yeah, I'd imagine it's like 3/4 of a gallon.
Gas was like 6 something. Even 7 even.
That's like so much cheaper than it is in Vancouver. What the? It's
Yeah, you
like
guys have public transportation. You have trains and stuff.
that's not the same. Whatever.
You can just get around without cars.
I'm dead inside. Anyways, today we are going to be talking a bit about a more serious topic, integrity, just like within the community and stuff. Jimothy, you want to explain your relationship with the topic?
Yeah, there was a bit of an incident with Twitter and gestures and stuff. I made a little twit longer about a certain individual following a certain incident. I'm taking this out, by the way.
Is that a clip-on tie?
It was a Olive Garden gift card.
Oh yeah.
Oh, nice,
Let's
nice.
go.
Okay.
But yeah, just all the community reaction surrounding, furry cheating. I was pretty vocal about my opinions, so I think that's why I'm here.
Yeah, I think I'd
And
say
then,
that.
two of us. I was probably more involved with the furry investigation. I was very involved. I certainly have my opinions about the idea of integrity within a competitive community. Edge, I'm sure you do too.
Yeah, I'm just not very vocal about that stuff, but now you'll get to hear some Edge TE hot takes in this episode. Never before published opinions exclusively on Talking Pieces.
Exclusive.
Yes, we
Get it now, or I don't know. You never hear it again, except you can go back to the recording.
That's so true. But yeah, so we've wrote down a list of things to go over. The first thing that we're going to be so we're gonna cover like probably the two largest incidents of cheating in the community. First, chronologically, we'll be talking a bit about Maravir and what they've done and how responses to that were issued in the community, and then we'll be talking about furry and what happened this time around. Very recent. A lot of you probably familiar with that. And then we'll be talking about how other games and communities have handled integrity. We'll have a brief segment on that. Then after that, we'll give our thoughts, suggestions on how we could improve as a community, and then take questions from you guys in our Discord stage. So if you're not here, be sure to join a Discord server, hop in the stage, because we'll be in there after we get through all of our more heavy pieces in the talk. Then we'll be heading over there to take questions regarding this topic. and you see it there in our Twitch chat. So first we have the situation and stuff with Merivere. I'm just wondering, how involved were you guys like in the community at the time of the Merivere document when all of that info came out?
I think the Merivere, the initial stuff was early summer 2021,
Yeah, I believe so.
something like that. I wasn't involved with like the finding out things or gathering like the evidence or actually handling the ban. I think this was like ever so slightly before I started doing like all that stuff that I do now.
I see.
So I was mostly just like, after it came out, I was like, oh, well, that sucks.
Dang.
It did suck, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good point. I was in the community for a while. I was there like initially when they did this stuff with PPT, like they stole some of Dormy's runs, which was a while ago.
Yeah. I was like around. I like followed the game, but at that time I wasn't really present or doing any work or anything. But I remember I was like, a lot of this stuff that happened in like 2021 title, it happened while I was at work. So I was at work, and I pull out my phone to check Twitter, and I see this document. I'm just there. I'm just reading it as I'm doing stuff. I'm just like, I had my suspicions about Merivere because he was a lot more active when I was active in like 2020. He'd go around, he'd talk to me and stuff. Seemed like a very interesting person, but I didn't read too much behind the lines, and some stuff in there I did not expect to see. Some stuff in there kind of did fit the bill, from what I had been hearing, as I was less present. So what I have here is I've pulled up on Chrome. I have various documents and stuff that have been written about these incidents. So we're just going to kind of go through them, skim through, and for people who haven't heard these before, we're kind of gonna like go through and summarize the situation, and then after that we have a little bit of time to give our opinions, and then move on to the next. Because these are two kind of somewhat fundamentally similar cases. They involve like cheating, misrepresentation of gameplay and skill, and I believe they were both handled quite differently, in my opinion. Based on circumstances of the case, as well as just the time in general, how much larger the Tetris community has gotten in the past year or so. So with that, I believe here we go. So if you guys do not know, there's an entire 17-page document on Merivere. It goes through his offenses, gives a timeline of them, and all this stuff. So like one of the first things he did here, as detailed, is he stole a sprint video from Dorami. He took a replay of a sub 35 in Puyo Puyo Tetris, and he literally just ripped the video from Dorami's channel, which is very interesting.
And then he posted it himself.
Yeah, so
It's been a while since I've read this.
But yeah, then he just literally posted the same replay himself. And for a minute, he like kind of tried to defend himself, but later he just joined and admitted to taking the video. And he also has just like installed scripts in PPT to cheat, to optimize his runs and make them faster.
Yeah, there was like a 180 macro, I believe he had, which was one of the ways he got caught.
Yeah. Which is very interesting. And he also did like a trick where he tried to slow down the game and then speed up the video again to make it look real, which is remember that detail.
Remember, this is a secret tool that will come in handy later. You know what I mean? That's that.
And so over this course of like 3 or 4 months, he's trying every method possible to kind of make his sprints look faster, and kind of just continuously optimize the run. And then here you have screenshots of Jed kind of confronting Merivere about the situation and all that stuff, and then also just saying some kind of foul things about Dormy and all that. And Dormy is a very influential figure in our community. Now kind of moving on more to Osu content, but still around a little bit.
Yeah.
And they also just they also tend to not have great conduct in tournament. They've repeatedly broken rules across various events. In PPT tournaments, I believe both held in Puyo World, received a ban from Puzzle Cataclysm Open, and also broke some rules during the first Revolution tournament on Gestures. So yeah, but I do just want to give a shout out to anyone who played a part in investigating this, because there's a lot of good evidence in this one.
A lot of stuff that just like I think a lot of people would have not really brought to attention.
Yeah.
Unless like there was like a big reason to, and I feel like a lot of people will just kind of see it and then not say anything on the topic and just kind of let it slide, like all these little individual things. But you get there with the right set of people.
And also another thing that happens is very interesting. This is kind of like one of the more larger things that I think about when I think of like the Mirror situation. The two largest things I think of are the stolen PPT video and how he handled his Nolpo run. So for those who don't know, there's a older school Tetris client, I believe written in Java, Nolpamino. It was the standard for a lot of fast sprinters back in the Tetris Friends days. Maravir in 2021 was sprinting on Nolpamino and had seemed to have achieved a sub 20 sprint on Nolpamino. And he posted it, he discussed it in an MMC server, and people started to kind of discuss the logistics of this run, because I don't believe, and I might be misremembering this, but I'm not sure if like Maravir had like a low 20 sprint time on like a more official platform like Tetris or Gestures at the time. I believe he was like mainly PVing in the like mid 21, 22 second range. So a jump like this was very significant, and it kind of rose a lot of suspicion regarding the legitimacy of the run and how easy it can be to modify Nolpamino.
Yeah. Nolpamino is like only single player, right?
Yeah, it's only single player.
Able to gather.
I think there were some multiplayer mods for it, but if you download the game stock, it's just a single player experience. And yeah. And Maravir just got insanely defensive over the fact that people were just mainly discussing the broader possibility of cheating on Nolpamino after his run got posted. He took these statements as if people were accusing him of cheating, which I believe you guys could agree just added to his suspicion. And this situation made him like more investigated on all of that stuff. And this document just continues to detail his like subpar behavior towards influential members of the community. And as a result, at this time, large tournament organizers from like Hard Drop, MMC, Puzzle Kingdom, TTSD came together and just barred Maravir from all competition until the beginning of 2022. And then after that, there were a few more incidents that took place. I believe more in relation to Team TSD runs. You might know more about these than I do, if you would like to talk about those.
Yeah, so Maravir now, for those of you who don't know, is currently indefinitely banned from tournament participation in any event that I'm a part of, and any event that Edge is a part of, and many of the other larger tournament orgs. Mostly because I'm gonna say that like the main tangible reason, other than the conduct part, is that they participated in tournaments that they were banned from, literally like at the first possible opportunity. The tournament Infinite Finesse, I think it was Score, I think it was IFTS, the one in May or the one in June last year. They Merivere played under the account Stoleon _ I believe it was, which had like the same keybinds as Merivere, like ridiculously, like they were like top 50 with an account age of like 5 days with the same account controls and the same PFP. And after I think they played in IFT, and then they played in a Tetrio Cup under this alternate tag, something like that. And they were confronted by a number of people. After a while, after like a lot of confrontation, they did admit to it. And yeah, following that, it was like no brainer. Like, this person is not feeling like, they don't feel remorseful for the actions that they've made in the past. In fact, they're just like doubling down on their position and trying to play in tournaments that they're banned from, right? The reason that that I believe that the ban initially wasn't indefinite, and it was initially only until the end of 2021, so he should have, had things gone to plan, been unbanned like half a year ago. The reason they did that was so that they were hoping that Merivere would be able to show growth and be able to like come back from like their previous actions. But you know, you ban someone from a tournament, and then the very next opportunity they make an alt account and enter the tournament. Oh, Tetrio Journey. Thank you, Moosey, in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like either way, you see like complete disregard for the sanctions that you've set up as community leaders. Is like no brainer that you're gonna keep them banned like indefinitely.
Yeah, I believe like there was a very low like amount of time in between when this document and the official announcement of the bans released, and then when he was actually just trying to smurf again. I believe if you correlate the days, the Stoleon account was probably created the day of or just a few days after the document released. So it clearly that account existed in the first place with the intention to specifically cheat. So now that we've kind of filled in on the situation, I want to kind of speak with you guys about what the result is now. As of the recording day of this episode, June 7th, 2022, how does Merivere still stand in our community? And what has happened to him? Where is he allowed? Where is he not allowed? And potential future standings for him. So at this point, as I'm aware of, their bans have still held up in all major like fast block stacking tournament organizations. They're still banned in Puzzle Kingdom, Team TSD. I believe Modern Mino Community still has a ban on him.
IFT, TAWS, VTT Global, anything that I'm a part of, which is to say I've at a lot of places.
So many places, but I want you guys to kind of remember, because we are talking about two very similar situations in Merivere and Furry on like their in-game cheating conduct. I want you guys to think about the differences between how their punishments are at this point, as we continue talking in this episode. So Merivere is kind of like heavily sanctioned in tournament, but is still accepted widely by the community and by other block stacking games other than where he cheated. All PPT adjacent stuff I'm pretty certain hasn't banned, but still allowed to play Tetrio, still allowed to participate in tournaments from communities who do not enforce these sanctions with the larger major TOs. Lots of people are friends with this person, and a lot of them are probably not aware of their conduct that we've detailed in this document. Because this document's not a thing that's very spread around anymore. It had its time, and then I believe
the
next time it came up was the beginning of this year, because his ban was supposed to expire, and he kept on trying to get into places, if I recall correctly, because he was reading the document. He's like, Well, on this document, it says my ban expires now, kind of not realizing that individual communities, and most of them had expanded upon this initial sanction based on their actions. Which is why, if you look at the doc now, there's updated red text at the top with a new note and thread by Cyprian, who was kind of talking about this stuff. And some community leaders were trying to kind of justify a cheater and someone who acted with this conduct and this magnitude coming back into the organization. Also, some people in chat are bringing some great points. How Merriver kind of tried to slightly alter their identity upon the ban and realizing that they cannot alt their way back in. Set their story on stuff. They deleted their YouTube channel. They rebranded from Merriver to Merlin. So 2 very similar names. You can obviously tell the connection if you're aware. Also, just creating alts and different accounts of very different, like, kind of nonsensical names. And also, Jed came with some context in the chat saying that every time he alted, he would consistently send apologies for his actions while breaking the rules at the same time. So it's just very interesting.
This definitely did happen. After the stuff, like immediately following his ban, he did the Stoleon participation in IFT and in Tetris Journey, and then he apologized and then kept doing it.
Yeah.
He didn't even really apologize to the tournament organizers whose events that, like, with the rules he breached. He just, like, I don't know, he didn't apologize to them. He apologized to, like, a different third party.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, I kind of rubbed
And
me
even
wrong,
so,
actually.
like, apologizing to other people and then still breaking conduct is just incredibly unremorseful behavior. And I don't think any time in the future we'll be considering revoking these indefinite bans.
Yeah, I want to provide some more context to what Jed was saying about the apologizing. So, when everything was first happening, like all that he had done was like cheat, which is obviously not okay. But he Merriver had changed his profile picture to like something kind of concerning. So I DM'd him, talked to him a bit, and I gave him some advice, and he seemed really apologetic, like he was willing to change. But then afterwards, like I gave him the advice of like apologizing to everyone of his wrongs and stuff, and he seemed really open to it. But then afterwards, he like said more stuff about Jed and Dormy and kept doing it. So it seems very like two-faced kind of.
Yeah.
Like where he would say all these things, but he would never change his actions. And I'm sure a lot of people can like relate to this because a lot of people did try to give him a second chance.
I think generally speaking, people don't want to have to ban people.
Yeah.
And I think that's a kind of a pervasive theme toward like over like any cheating scandal or like bad conduct is people like we want to have faith in the people that are in our community that they can be good or they can change to be better, right? But you see the conduct and you see them being apologetic and then immediately turning around and doubling down. And yeah.
Also, Moose has brought up a great point, chat, that I kind of want to discuss. So Merriver, at the time with Merriver, there's also another problematic individual of the community who I will not name on audio. A document released regarding this person and their conduct, which is incredibly heinous. And after this, Merriver started associating with this other problematic community member, became very buddy with them, and then started attacking our tournament organizers, specifically attacking Jed, making false accusations against them, comparing Jed to very horrible people who have done bad things. And of course, Jed's not done these things. Jed's probably one of our top most respectable members in this community. Started a lot of projects just for the gain of the community overall. He puts a lot of work in. And as much as Jed is known, I feel like despite all he does, still quite underappreciated for all the projects that he undertakes. So shout outs to Jed. If you guys know him, he just works on a ton of stuff as well. One cool thing that I kind of want to bring a little bit of light to here before we get back into integrity has been helping kind of resurrect old tournament VODs that never saw their light.
Yeah, he's been working on getting like every old tournament that hasn't been documented. Stuff like Garbo Gamble Cup, which was 2020, Comet Open, which was late 2021 and hasn't had.
I think the largest
their
one
VODs
was
cut out.
he gathered a team to redub a Tetris tournament that was done entirely in Chinese. Redubbed it in English and uploaded. Taiwan Tetrio Tournament 4. Internally Tetrio Cup East #1. And it makes me interested to see how that stuff will go in the future. That was just a bit off topic. Just wanted to give a shout out to Jed for a ton of great work that he's been putting in recently. But moving further, that's just kind of one thing that I wanted to detail about Merivir is how still, even despite all this stuff, they are widely accepted in the community. They have a couple hundred subscribers on their new YouTube channel where they upload content. They also stream. They have like a very quite sizable group of friends in his own community. Has quite a few hundred members, and I still see them present in tons of community places. And also remember, not banned on Tetrio, despite their quite illegitimate actions in other communities and on other games.
Yeah, they're very active in Tetrio. They even have their own Discord server in Blitzcord.
Yeah.
I think it's like owned by them. A lot of like high level players in there. Just I don't know.
It's always a hard thing to enforce, like community wide. Again, this is something that'll come up again and again, just like in our community in general, with how sort of like decentralized we all are. It can be easy for someone, especially someone with the pre-existing audience that Merivir had to just like still be able to exist. And especially when like Tetrio and Jestris don't ban him and they just kind of let him run wild, and it's a
And Afternoon brings up an interesting point that I think we'll talk about later when we get into discussing and recapping the furry events. Asking if Tetrio bans players for actions outside of the Tetrio client itself, and or the community outlets for Tetrio based on like interactions specifically on their social media pages, like their Twitter and Discord for the game. And we'll kind of talk a little bit more about that because I have some very interesting opinions on how that is handled so far that I haven't really shared yet. But now we've kind of given a recap and given some of our basic thoughts on the Merivir situation, a very large situation in 2021. Now we'll move on to very, very recent events in furry. There are also two things to show from that. We first had the collaborative community doc for Merivir, and then Cyperion made a Twitter thread later in the year trying to urge community leaders community leaders into officially announcing the extension of the ban. Next, we kind of have furry, and I'd say the first thing that we can show was like the actual core community investigation, another Google Doc put together by Matt, developer of Tetris, I believe. Just brought that onto PPT and Tetrio based on the Misumino stuff. So let me pull this up here.
It was headed by Matt. I was also a part of it. Arisa was also a part of it. It was the three of us and some other people as well. Yeah,
so basically, for those who weren't aware, furry a couple months back, mid-April, I believe, dropped a 14.183 second 40-line sprint in Tetris. That shattered the previous world record, which was on Gestures by, Reset still had it. No one had taken it after Reset overall. But that was on Gestures, and I think the Tetris world record was in the 15.2 neighborhood by Fortism at the time that this world record was achieved. And I just want to give huge shout outs to Matt for leading the technical investigation. They did so much analysis to determine how exactly they could have cheated, because I feel like in the public it was highly speculatory. Again, based on, if you remember the Merriweather situation, they got a huge PB, nearly 2 seconds, from their Gestures, I believe, sprint to Nolpo. As well as this one had a fairly large and sizable PB. They were in the 15s range at that time, and they knocked their stuff all the way down to 14.2. So what
it was
they
like a 1.5 second PB. I think. Something close to that or something.
It was very close to that, and basically they had determined the speed hacking of Tetris based on analyzing where Furry's keyboard appeared to poll. They kind of checked out the polling rate of the keyboard, how it appeared in his legitimate replays, as well as how it appered in their cheat replays, and using the discrepancy, seeing how vastly different the keyboard's polling rate appeared to show, that's how they determined that the speed of Tetris had been achieved. I believe they also did some like live plays, and the live play stats never even matched up to even close to the supposed speed of their actual world record time. The times were like 30s. There might have been like a 26 during the live play session, but nothing even close. Also, one very interesting piece of analysis, which I think was brought up in this document, it's this video where they show off the difference in timing between a Windows low battery notification showing up, which kind of debunked a live play that they recorded being at a different sort of speed. Because they talk about how it just appeared like 66% speed, somewhere around there, of the Windows low battery notification, and they had this side-by-side video, which was just a very minute detail. So I just huge shouts for the for this investigation. And then basically after all the evidence that came together, this document was being put together, and the damning evidence was achieved, Furry just confessed, and kind of left a blanket reason for their actions, which I will kind of quote right here, why they explained in detail later to Tetris staff who put together this blog post exactly the reason for their actions, sort of. So after a year that they like reached X rank or something, I'm just trying to paraphrase what they wrote, they did not feel like they were improving as fast as they used to. And then they basically had like software on their computer or something, decided to see if it would work on Tetris, and then speed hacked the game, slowly progressing the amount that they speed hacked the game down up until 0.5x speed, which is how much the world record was altered. and then they also talked about their dash on how they manipulated it just to be unique. It didn't really matter with how they modified the game. And then they also claimed themselves that anything that they achieved below a sub 21 time was 100% cheated.
I think that it's worth noting that things like long-standing cheating, and I've talked to a fair amount of people on the topic, is that Furry did cheat for almost a year, 11 months, I believe, up until the documents and the blog post had come out with the evidence. The thing about it is that it's easy to just see the improvement happen because of the speed hack, and then because of the cheating, and you end up just wanting more of like the improvement and more of the praise that comes with it. And it's a very like slippery slope psychological sort of component that goes into I've done it once, I just need to like, I'm gonna like double down and continue making the cheating more more effective, and tuning the game to be slower and slower and slower, so I can like feel the improvement and get like world record times or whatever.
Yeah. I do actually kind of want to issue some form of apology for this, because internally I've been hearing a lot of talk between different community leaders and stuff who were like very, very pressed about this investigation. And in my head I was like, man, hopefully in due time they get this released, but like I feel like they're kind of hardcore rushing it, just from what I had heard. Because as far as I'm involved with tournaments and stuff, I'm definitely not the person who's directly involved with these cheating investigations or anything. So I just hear tidbits of updates as I'm told internally. I believe the issue was first raised to me by Moose about 2 or 3 weeks before this came out. I was hoping that they take their time to get everything right, but I wouldn't say that they took their time, but they still got everything amazingly well done. And I think in my head, just because I wanted the most accurate results, I kind of misrepresented the sort of importance of this in my head when I was thinking about this. And then when it all came out, this all made sense to me. So I'm not the person who necessarily does all cheating investigation. I'm just glad that we do have these dedicated members of the community who will launch third-party investigations on their own. And they care so much about the integrity of these leaderboards, and they use and kind of gather even new technical knowledge just for causes like this. So I think there is a very small silver lining to these situations. Of course they suck, but it still shows how much the legitimate members of our community do care about these situations, and they go to great lengths to make sure that these issues are rectified. But I feel like during the situation, you two felt a bit more strongly about it than I did.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
The Jimothy smile.
So if you guys want to talk a little bit more about your opinions throughout and after the investigation on this case, we could take a minute for that, and then we'll talk about where Furry stands in the community right now. And see where they're at. So if any of you would like to take it away, maybe Jimothy, you can go first. He looks like he's itching to talk about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean pretty much every like big enough community is gonna have cheaters, and that it sucks, but I mean every community has cheaters. You know, having cheaters isn't really like a sign of a bad community. The response to the cheaters and like how everything's handled says more about the community, in my opinion. And I think this whole Furry situation revealed a lot of some of like that we as a community are like still new to this stuff. We were all very underprepared, I would say. I can get into more specifics, but I'll let Renge go now.
I think you're right in that, like generally speaking, we are so young as a community. We had no fucking clue how to deal with this. Honestly, uh, the third party group that did the investigation definitely had a couple blunders going through it, and I would be lying if I didn't say that I think the everyone involved made mistakes, and that goes for like our group, or like my group with Matt and some of the other people who were doing their own independent stuff. And honestly, like, I think Tetrio staff also dropped the ball a little. I don't know if that's like a hot take, but I'm saying it. In the end, though, we did manage to get there, and I think it's gotten to a point where we're more prepared now. Just having dealt with this, we sort of know a bit more about what to and what not to do surrounding possible future events that happen like this, and like what should you be like doing on your own, and what should you be like getting permission for, and like from whom should you be getting permission and such.
Yeah, I feel like that this situation at least had kind of made the developers of games sort of more aware of when and how they'll need to take action on their own. Because the last major scandal in Maravir did not have that. As I mentioned before, they weren't banned on Tetris. I'm not sure about their status on Jestris. They might be banned from there. I'm not sure.
No, they aren't.
Well then, not banned on Jestris.
Not banned on PPT.
I mean,
Surprisingly.
yeah. But I feel like this did show like a stepping stone in our past, like our past incident. We're starting to see that the developers at least care more, or they're going to be forced to care more. And yes, investigation teams did reach out. Furry's banned from Tetris. They're also banned from Jestris. I assume other games will pick up this ban. As you know, more pop up, more aware, and more in development, they release their online features. Because you know, this is really showing that the devs are going to need to step up in their involvement. But I feel like even more so than Maravir, Furry is still accepted in the community.
Yeah,
I feel like some
I
organizers, some community leaders have dropped the ball on handling Furry. Because they're banned officially from, of course, Team TSD PK competition, of course, probably extending to TAWS, Infinite Finesse, Vietnam Tetris, just all of those sort of sister parties to PK and Team TSD. But
the Renge and Edge expanded universe.
Unfortunately, it's not everything. So
yeah.
So yeah, I won't name anywhere in specific, but there are some very large places that do not have Furry banned, and they're still allowed to interact. They still interact with the larger stack community. Large content creators in our community still openly speak about them, promote their other content on social media. And I feel like publicly, at least publicly, I know privately as well, it's just like we need to take people who have offended integrity in our community. We need to take handling them more seriously, just as individuals. Because I'm honestly quite disappointed with how Furry being present in some even competitive communities has been so far. Furry is still in a number of communities that will regularly host some of the top performing competitive Tetris and Jesters tournaments. And they're still present there. They might even still use matchmaking features in these discords. Still, converse with plenty of top players and individuals, content creators. I just feel like we kind of need to realize who we are dealing with. Someone had absolutely just modified the leaderboards and create a false presumption of a shattering world record in this game, and for some reason a lot of us are still keeping them around. It just really makes me think, what is it worth? Why should we let cheaters still interact in our community spaces? That said, of course, I feel like if a cheater over a very long period of time displays some remorse, I feel like being able to interact in a community again might be okay. However, participating in actual gameplay or tournament play would probably still be something that I'd advise against allowing these players to do.
For me, I think the biggest thing that leads to them still being around, sort of like generally speaking, is that Furry and Maravir, and honestly many of the people in communities in general who like do the cheating, they have friends, and those friends they just don't want to lose the friend that cheated, and because of that they'll justify the actions, they'll say this and that and try to make it right in their heads to be friends with them, or like this cheating wasn't a super big deal, or like even if they cheated I'm still their friend, and that's fine. I think that's okay, but I don't think that they should be welcomed in like public spaces within our community anymore.
Additionally,
and honestly,
look, I'd like to say, apologies for interrupting, but I just feel this is a very important thing. I feel like if the friends are largely influential in our community social media, they should not be promoting their content on their platform. That's just not a good idea. When you become a larger content creator, you unintentionally and sometimes unwillingly accept this responsibility to become a role model for the rest of the community. If you have, like, let's say a large YouTube channel or large Twitter, you make a tweet about a forward person's content, there are going to be a lot of comments about the player, their integrity, and lots of them will probably come out in support, because if this large community figure, or even could extend to just a top player, is openly supporting a person who had presented misconduct, the community will feel more incentive to continue supporting this person. It all lies in our influencers in the community as well.
Yeah, the people who have reach and who have opinions that will affect a lot of other people definitely have like a larger responsibility. I would say that it's okay. Yeah, it's okay to be friends with someone, right? I think that's fine, especially if they express remorse. I don't fault any individual person for continuing to associate with Furry and helping them like work through their thoughts and improve as a person. I just think that in the public eye of the community, the people with influence shouldn't be like promoting their other works or anything like that. Like, you can make the self-improvement, but I don't think that should happen inside the community that you wronged.
Yeah, they need to take time away, and then, as some people in chat mentioned, I feel like at a certain point they can be welcomed back into community activities. But it's gonna have to take a while. I personally feel like Miravir's actions are kind of gonna make us more strict on this front, with how badly they tried to get back in and how many bad things they said. It's gonna make us more cautious to determine who is actually remorseful and who actually isn't. And as much as this could be a bad thing for people who have genuinely improved in a shorter amount of time, they are going to have to wait longer, and they'll probably be under quite a bit more scrutiny just based on these things. And I don't feel like this is a bad thing for the whole state of the community. It's going to make us much more aware to foul play, which I think will benefit us in the future. I feel like a lot of what we're experiencing are growing pains, but they're pretty large pains. And it's just going to help us be more prepared in the future for new infrastructure that we want to deal with, that we have to establish. But yeah, now that we've kind of had the overview of these situations, I want to bring something up that is very interesting. So we had Furry, who was a cheater on Tetrio, still being issued a game ban in gestures. I just want to think about this. So they'd been banned across games and platforms for action done on one client. And this makes me think, should our developers in the future, or should have in the past, examine scenarios of misconduct from other clients? And should action had been taken, or should action be taken in the future, just across clients and across games? I have a pretty short answer for this one. I don't know what you guys think. So
I think we all know the answer that you're gonna say.
I feel like this should absolutely be considered. Like, this is a no-brainer for me. And this is an Edge TE hot take. Probably the hottest take I'll ever publish on the internet. I feel like Maravir should have been banned on Tetrio for a long time.
Honestly, I feel like it's slightly tangential to the topic, but I think that Maravir should have been banned on Tetrio because they ulted in a bannered tournament.
That is true, yeah.
Because the Infinite Finesse and Tetrio Journey, they both had banners, I'm pretty sure.
And if you just think of the magnitude,
like,
the first Journey was the largest Tetrio tournament for quite a while in that time period. A lot of prize pool, lots of people watching. It held for an English tournament, it held the peak viewership record. It might still hold it without any exterior promotion, meaning Twitch front page or all of that.
I think that it's not that Maravir ulted. There's some talk in the chat that they were banned for 2 months for ulting, but it's the participation in a bannered tournament that involves cash prize, that involves the integrity of the competitive scene as a whole, and the fact that they ulted to participate in that, I think shows a lack of integrity that warrants an in-game Tetrio ban, even if it's like very tangential, like to the actual in-game aspect of it. The fact that they were participating in an event in which they could win money, in which they could achieve in-game badges and other like accolades of the sort, then like what happens if they ult and they won money?
Yeah, I feel
at
like
that
this
point,
I feel like this is a slip. There's a pretty big slip where in a community where Tetrio is the premier tuning unlimited competitive client. I feel like there would be more for an argument on Maravir staying unbanned if Gestris was still more competitively relevant and they received a ban in Gestris. I feel like there would be a bit more of a point on this side. So I just feel like this is kind of an instance at that time kind of dropped the ball. I would have been questioning, like, is Tetrio going to be the premier competitive client if they're not going to take ulting in a big money tournament, not only at the time but also just at this point, still one of the largest Tetrio events. If no action will be taken against them for that, would I want to hold my major event on Tetria? Or would I want to hold it on another Tuning Unlimited game where the developer is going to work with us and the community to work more involving sanctioning poorly acting players in our events? It just kind of left that up for question. Of course, with the size, Tetria is going to be the premier Tuning Unlimited client, but it makes you think if it should be for competitive. And I will say, relatively quick action regarding grabbing substantial evidence for their for Furry's ban on Tetrio gives me a little bit more hope in the game now, where major scandal was handled relatively quickly. I feel like in future we've kind of realized that this should these actions should be taken, and that Tetrio will work more closely with tournament organizers. And one thing that I do want to kind of give kudos to Tetrio for was implementing a policy against alt accounts from the beginning. Is like, not from the beginning, but like just as a base in the entire game. Is alts can kind of make the process hard, especially when you're having to deal with sanctioned players or players misrepresenting their skill. Just banning it at a forefront in the game, and I'm not sure when this was implemented, but it might have taken even some direct advice from TOs. I just think it was a very nice thing of them to do, because we were talking about a little bit of a Tetrio L with Maravir, but we're talking about, I feel like it's fair to give a little bit of a shout out to a W.
A new Tetrio W, rising from the ashes of a failed experiment.
Yes.
It's I definitely think that, honestly, if it were up to me, obviously I have my biases, right? But I think now, like retroactively, Maravir should be banned.
Yeah.
Even if retroactively, he should be banned for the previous actions. Like, there's no reason for him to be like grandfathered in for like no reason. Like that's what I think.
I mean, he didn't cheat once. He cheated on 3 separate occasions.
Yeah.
Right. So even just that is, I would say, is grounds for a ban. But not only did he alt, he ban evaded and ruined his tournament
as I was gonna
experience.
say, not only did Maravir ban evading part of tournaments, I just felt like if I was looking in for myself, if I was on that staff team, seeing the controversy and like the eventual decision behind their Null Pomino sprint run, as I was talking about bans for actions completed on other clients and communities, that probably would have been enough for me to at least consider with the rest of the team getting them banned, or actually issuing this decision. Then after the incidents in the 2 partner tournaments, I felt like that would have just been the smoking gun.
I think generally speaking, things that happen within the community should be reflected within the game. And it's been steadily improving, I think, but I don't know if I would say that. I think game devs in general like to have their own say in, or like to be able to make their own decisions in terms of who is and who isn't banned, independent of community members and like third-party community leaders. But Furry being banned on Gestress as well as Tetrio sets a good precedent going forward, I think.
And I think a good decision is I do still want to give a shout out to Jimothy. Wrote down some notes about certain controversies that happened in like other competitive communities across different games, how they handled situations. I feel like we could have a brief section talking about that, seeing what we do similarly and differently. But before that, I want to take a couple of questions that we've received from the audience. And I also want to remind all of you that if you would like to join live, potentially with your microphone, and ask some questions later after we get through this quick point about cheating and conduct in different games, be sure to join our Discord server. !Discord in the chat, I think will get you there if you're watching live on Twitch. And join the Talking Pieces stage, We'll be joining there to take questions momentarily after we finish with our points. So if any of you guys have some questions that you weren't able to get in before the episode, that would be a great time to ask. But one of our first questions comes from Azura Horizons, a very prolific commentator, especially recently, commentating tons of events, asking about the recent over-under situation.
It's coming. It's COVID.
So
For those of you who don't know about what happened with Over Under 2, which happened just under 2 weeks ago, I've been like really slow on it. We ended up canceling the tournament towards the end due to a very high suspicion that many of the finalists were misrepresenting their skill. As it was, many of you know that Over Under is kind of my pet project, and I was pretty emotionally devastated after the events that surrounded the end of the tournament. So I've been a little bit slow on the pickup on dealing and revising the statement that I'm going to make on behalf of Team TSD. But it's coming soon. It will come out soon. This is honestly kind of related to the topic of integrity. We didn't actually put this down, but
yeah, I didn't
should.
feel like we should have noted it just because the investigation is still in progress. I didn't feel like we should share any, but we could give a recap while we're here. Over Under 2, lots of suspicious play, specifically in top 6, top 4 of the event. During the event, staff had determined that this was suspicious enough to cancel the tournament. I personally felt affected by this quite a bit. I was commentating the pools block, so I held an entire talk about just tournament stuff, rank cap in general. I still think the rank cap is here to stay. I still think it's a great thing, but there's going to need to be more scrutiny put into these rank cap tournaments, unfortunately. Just because of this incident, especially when several top 4 teams kind of look suspicious there. Investigation will be wrapped up relatively soon. Team TSD will release the statement. So that's all I want to say on that one.
It's on the way.
It's on the way.
I spent a lot of time just trying to gather my thoughts on it, and yeah, it's coming.
And now we have another question from T-Flat, organizing various community tournaments across Tetris, Tetris Connected in the past. Dropping the question, given the recent circumstances, do you believe that there will be an increase in the use of webcams, microphones, etc. to improve validity? Also, where do you see the quality of moderation for games and communities going in the future? So I think that this will be implemented, especially and probably mainly in single player achievements. When you think of like a blitz run potentially being time manipulated, or a sprint run potentially being time manipulated, a good quality microphone, hand cam, live stream even will be able to kind of help the opinion sway more toward the favor of the player in proving legitimacy. So it's just it's gonna be very interesting to see how we gauge this as a community going in the future, but I feel like more of this will have to be present to view even an impressive, let alone the world record, as a legitimate record.
After the furry thing, I made a tweet longer and with 2 main points, and one of them was that we do need these things in place, like, you know, hand cams or, you know, live streaming gameplays. And I'm not really sure if if we as a community will require that, I don't know. I hope we do, but
I'd like to see that
I'm
going
not.
forward in the future.
Yeah, people have like raised some
More and
concerns that
more.
I feel,
other
and some people might bring up like the quality of computers and whatever, but an example, I'm not calling out Vince for having low end hardware, but Vince has often gone out of their way to provide hand cam feeds for Tetrio Cups while playing competitive, and also has recorded many live plays, many hand cams. I believe has even streamed on the occasion. And Vince is a former 40-line world record holder. That just cemented his legitimacy and a good community member, just by continuously and consistently doing hand cams, providing live plays. So I just feel like that's even proof that even with relatively lower end hardware, you can still pull off getting a camera feed ready for proving
Yeah.
your legitimacy.
Especially just like single player stuff. You can record it on your phone for all that matters.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would say that, yeah, like going forward, knowing what happened with Furry, and being able to take all the information and the experiences from other communities, we should be able to enforce more. just more mics, cameras,
Mm-hmm.
like the whole 9 yards if possible. And I think it just takes a push from the community to make that more of a standard.
Yeah. So yeah, just took a bit of questions there. I know Jyoti had some notes on this. Do you want to talk about how integrity is handled in some other communities, which you gathered some information on?
Sure. So there's been a lot of high profile cheating cases in like pretty much every gaming community.
That's
The other
crazy.
day, yeah, it's almost like people kind of suck. But the other day I just went through, took some notes on this to see how other communities do it and how maybe we could, use their mistakes and stuff so that we don't int, for lack of a better term. So the first one I have here is with this game called Clone Hero. Uh, Matt can tell you a lot about it. So it was a very similar case to Tetrio. There was a high-profile player, like very beloved community member, who speed hacked for like a couple years. People had all these sorts of suspicions, and then no one really wanted to say anything. If someone had suspicions, it would like get shut down pretty quickly. And eventually they got a little too like comfortable. They uploaded a video, which is like very blatantly cheated. And there was a community-led confrontation, and then they confessed to cheating some runs. And then Matt here, who is who Renge worked with on the furry case, also found out they speed hacked a bunch of other runs. And I think the key things to take away from this is how when you shut down suspicions, like just entirely, like you don't let people say anything, like you don't involve them in any way, people get away with cheating, and for a while. So I think as a community, we kind of need to be a little bit more comfortable with with letting people be suspicious.
Yeah.
I think people should be able to voice their suspicions, but as a community, we are really bad at making our voices heard in a way that isn't like abrasive, for lack
I
of a
think
better word.
like a abrasive or just like overtly accusatory,
Mm-hmm.
to
We're
where
really bad at framing our thoughts, I think, as a general statement, is why like so many people will have disagreements within the community.
yeah.
Right.
I feel like it's a combination of people are like subpar at putting together their words, along with they feel very pressured to get their word out when these things happen. combining those two together, you get statements that can be left up for misinterpretation, which is why I think our community has fallen in love with the document format of putting together our thoughts, because documents can be easily formatted and they can be crafted to be easily readable. So that's just another thing. And then there's a couple of other games noted here. A very interesting point in Dream Minecraft, but I guess we'll get to it.
Yeah, these notes are kind of made for me, so they're a bit wonky. Oh, OSK raises a good point here, and that Tetra is different from Clone Hero in the fact that there is a group of people you can go to talk to about your suspicions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that brings me to Osu. For those of you who don't know, Osu had and still kind of has a huge problem with people just throwing wild accusations like witch hunts, stuff like that. Like it easily turns into harassment. And so what they did to kind of remedy this issue is they made something called r/Osu report, which is basically all the accusations and not accusations, but like all your suspicions and proof and stuff go there. And you're not allowed to talk about it anywhere else to like avoid drama and stuff. I mean, this is one. I feel like this is one good avenue the Tetris community could take to kind of avoid all this public drama, but still let people be heard and not necessarily have to rely on a pretty small team of people who are preoccupied with a lot of other things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
There's something to be said about the Osu report format as it pertains to our community. We have a lot of kids in our community.
Yeah.
A lot of people who either don't have like the skill set to be able to handle this kind of thing in a I don't know the word for this, in like a level-headed manner. And the people who might be able to probably have bigger fish to fry than managing an Osu report sort of deal.
Mm-hmm. I just feel like maybe it just like how Osu report is, a more organized and sort of cordial place to discuss suspicions on players would highly benefit us. It would kind of make people feel less pressured to kind of push all their thoughts out, especially for people who might not be as well versed as others at forming their thoughts into text. It will kind of relieve the pressure off of them, and more emphasis can be put on actually spending time deducing the actions of these suspicious players, and how that works. So I feel like maybe if we can come with a solution for that, or at least the major titles can influence solutions like this. I feel like there'd be a benefit to it, so people don't have to flock to general channels of Discords or just their own Twitter accounts to rant about their suspicions on different players, if there's some suspicion there. And it will also, if this medium of discussing suspicions is moderated, it will prevent harassment from coming towards the players, at least on official mediums. Staff will be more aware that these things could be happening and can take action against offenders faster who are trying to harass these players, and coordination could be made with larger third-party communities as well to get offenders who are harassing those under suspicion banned. Because I do feel like some people jump to a guilty until proven innocent principle in this community, rather than the other way around.
Right. You just want me to keep going through the
Yeah, let's keep
games?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Let's go. Dream Minecraft is next.
Dream Minecraft is next. I'll kind of combine this on Trackmania.
Okay.
So I'm sure a lot of people here know who Dream Minecraft is. Pretty big guy. There's like a whole debacle with him where he was cheating or accidentally cheating in Minecraft. But the way he cheated, accidentally or not, was he altered the drop rates of stuff. And I mean, what I noticed from there is during the stream and like shortly after, no one really noticed he was cheating, right? Because I mean, the people watching like aren't. It's just hard to like notice, I guess, if you're not a super top level player used to this stuff. So what ended up happening was a top level player, or it's like someone more familiar with the game, like felt like something was off, so they looked into it and they noticed the drop rates were just like extraordinarily lucky over the span of like 6 streams. And the way I related this to Tetris is that you kind of need these top level or like very experienced people looking into this stuff who like can sort of get those gut feelings and like know to look into it. Because before like Furry had suspicions on him, I privately talked to a lot of like higher level people, and everyone like kind of had a feeling where it's like, I don't know, this just doesn't seem human. It kind of seems off. But like when you look at lower level players, it seemed like they didn't really notice anything because they don't know any better.
Yeah,
So
there's like
yeah,
a requisite skill floor that that you will have to notice that, like, hey, like, I don't know, this rotation is a little weird, or like these drop rates seem a little bit too good too consistently,
yeah,
where a lot of people will just not notice that.
Yeah.
yeah. So my main point here is just maybe get some more higher level people, more technically skilled people to deal with or closely involved with like investigations into cheating.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I feel like these comparisons are very interesting. Kind of brings up some lessons that we could just take in general as we go on, and we're going to have to deal with more of this in the community. Okay, but it certainly isn't going to stop with the rapid expansion of Tetria. I do not expect that we will have to deal with cases like this any less. Certainly, many more probably at a rate that we wouldn't even expect potentially.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like so I talked about on the other game front. I'm going to check and see if we got some more written questions in. We have so we have one more written question, and then we will move over to the stage where you guys can join and verbally ask us questions. Get into the talking pieces groove. So, from Aftermoon, or it was all a dream, the M with 2 N's on Twitter, asking, this might be outside of the scope of the episode, but what kind of misconduct is under the purview of TOs/communities? To what extent are they responsible for enforcing moral or criminal misconduct? I think out of most of us, Renge might be the most qualified for this one.
Yeah.
So maybe you take it away for us.
The hold on. I'm parsing through my thoughts. In terms of misconduct that TOs will tend to care about, I think that most of it is gameplay focused or gameplay related. Like, this person cheated or is misrepresenting their skill, or stuff like that. But our community is slowly getting to a point where some of the TOs and larger community figures, myself included, will take on, or will like but will like answer DMs if people are like, hey, this person is just kind of like really gross, or this person is like is like harassing me in some way. And that is birthed from last summer. There were a couple of situations that I will not get super far into that made the Tetris misconduct helpline happen, which I am a part of. A lot of it now, I honestly, if something were to happen to this, that might like lead somebody to want to talk to a community figure about it, I would just DM someone that you find to be trustworthy and to have a reasonable amount of influence within the community, just about it, and ask if they would be willing to hear you out, or if they can refer you to someone who can do that. A lot of the time that is me. And I'm fine with that. I definitely, like, I don't take joy in being that person, but I think having someone in the community or a group within the community who is in the position to deal with this kind of, like, outside of game but in the community misconduct is very important.
Yeah.
But like, I just kind of deal with as much as I can, because I feel like it's a really important aspect of being a community.
Yeah, I feel like as an aspect of being a community leader, you do kind of pick up some form of responsibility just for this stuff in general. Moral misconduct, criminal misconduct, you'll have to enforce it to some point. That being said, we do have tools like the Tetris misconduct helpline to kind of launch more formal investigations to especially the more criminal side of things, and get reports to proper tangible authorities, as well as inform community leaders themselves of actual decisions which they might not need to make, they might not want to have to make. But I feel like as a community leader, you're always going to end up dealing with this at some point. And also, while we're here, I feel like we accidentally skipped a portion of T-Flet's question earlier, which was, where do you see the quality of moderation for games and communities going in the future? I feel like overall we've been steadily improving the kind of the aptitude of game moderation teams as we're all getting more experienced in this, because we're at a point in the community where we're still not like hiring actual games moderators. These are volunteer positions taken just by dedicated members, and Tetrio is still a game in rather decent infancy. Has only been around for the better part of about 2 years now, and everyone on that team has been learning along the way of what it takes to manage an online game of this scale, and what is needed to pull it off. And they haven't necessarily been doing quite bad so far. Just all these I like Jim's face for that. But you just consider the fact that we have a volunteer team here. I don't feel like we should expect it to be like Mr. Clean Perfect, and it certainly has gotten better over time. Is what I'd like to mention, and I feel like it will continue getting better in the future. So that is all I have to say regarding that. And then one last time, we'll move over to the stage for a little bit. We'll see if anyone has some questions to bring up to us. But yeah, as Afterman said in the chat, it's definitely, we just had to deal with the growing pains of our community scaling, potentially faster than we expected.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we'll head over to the talking pieces stage now. We'll talk for a little bit. We have an opportunity for some people to come in, and then we'll answer some questions. So, all right.
Hello? Oh, okay.
All right. We're here in the talking pieces stage.
Yeah.
Anybody who would like to join us here, go ahead and join the Puzzle Kingdom Discord. I think this is like pretty close to here.
Mm-hmm.
Around.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi.
So Moose
All right,
will be
this
here.
is. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna preface by asking everyone to please stay respectful with everything, and Zudo said, we are all on the same side. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
like, we saw what mistakes happened before, but it's like now is the time to move forward with this. Let's be a little proactive, right? So
Mhm.
like we'll bring people to stage one by one. Just raise your hands, and yeah, that's all I had to say.
Yeah. Basically, just the opportunity to audibly ask questions and all of that. And I believe Moose, who's in the background, will be managing, will be bringing people up for us. It's just shouts for him. Also, also producing these episodes when able. Take some stress off of me. So, yeah, we have an opportunity for some more people to come in here. Just want to say thanks for supporting these episodes. Both of our podcasts so far have been doing really well. I'm excited to see where the series goes in the future. Plenty of very interesting
seems to be doing
topics
pretty
planned.
well right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully
we
you guys
got-
stay excited.
We got one person raising their hand.
Mm.
Want to bring them in?
All right, we'll
Is
see.
that what that means?
Yeah, if they raise their hands, like they're raising their hand to indicate that they want to go up on the
Okay,
stage.
okay.
At least for our purposes.
We're. You want to bring Matt in?
I think we can.
I don't know
we'll
how.
bring them up. If you right click on them and then invite them to speak, I believe that moves them up. So
can't
welcome,
really
Matt. How's it
Matt.
going?
Hey,
How's
I'm
it
glad for the
going?
invite to speak, but my roommate actually literally just went to bed, so I would rather not. If you would like to voice, if someone would like to be my voice and I type somewhere, that would be very nice.
Yeah, I can narrate. Some people.
You can just
don't,
DM me, Matt.
I'm
I got
very
you.
sorry.
Oh my god.
All right, but yeah.
Perfect timing.
Shout outs to Matt. Shouts to Matt's roommate. Just trying to get some rest.
Shout outs to Matt's roommate.
If you don't mind, I could switch to my laptop and move her to a different room, and that'll take me like 2 minutes, and then I can voice.
Yeah, that's more than alright.
Yeah, whatever you'd like, man.
I'll do that. I'll be in a second. I'm sorry.
All right. All
Alright.
right.
No worries. So in the meantime,
I think. All right, we'll see if anyone else raises their hand, wants to bring up some questions, maybe some points.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the indicator. All right, we'll
we
bring
got
up.
an Azura.
bring
I can't do this. I need you to do it.
All right.
Oh, I can't do it.
Oh, I can do it too. Wait, I'm moving them back to audience so I can remove them.
Hi, hi Azura.
Welcome.
Hello.
I didn't have anything to say. I just got pulled in.
Oh
What?
wait.
You've raised your hand.
I
You raised your
didn't, did I?
hand.
You
Yeah, you did.
literally did.
Your hand was
I
raised.
probably misclicked then.
Come
Hey,
with
you
a
have the
question.
talking
Sorry
stick
about
now. Oh my god. I think
For those
Glitchy had
for
their
those of
hand
you
raised.
listening on the recording, this is our first time using the stage. So
Yes.
we're figuring it out.
Yeah, but
Right.
in future, we do plan on holding our entire episode here in the stage, so we can bring people in at just any time, experts, whatever, in
Mhm.
respective fields to comment on issues, ask questions, all of the sort. Bring this interactive piece to Talking Pieces, and then of course you have the visual feed on our Twitch, which you can keep watching. But yeah, again, if anyone on the stage does have some questions for us, raise your hand, comments, whatever. Some cool people in here.
I think Glitchy had their hand raised earlier, but they put it down, so I don't know. what's
Glitchy also
going on.
might just not know how to use the raise hand function.
Yeah.
Oh, we do
Oh.
have.
Oh my god,
Oh,
Glitch!
let's go. Let's go.
All right.
There he is.
Sign waving
Alright.
here. Yeah.
All right, so
Sine Wave,
here we got
who
Sine
actually raised his hand.
For those who don't know, Sine Wave, another very prolific commentator in the scene. They got the 2021 Stacky for it. So if you're watching that show and just watching tournaments, you're well aware of them. Definitely very well versed and competitive in this scene and involved. So what is up?
He's muted. I don't know if he knows
Yeah.
this yet.
We can't hear you.
Oops, I am indeed muted.
All right.
There he is.
So, something in a bit of a different direction, right? What do you think the future holds for these ranked cap tournaments?
Um, so this is an interesting one. I'm not really sure. I don't run too many myself. Um, I've only been like directly involved in running one, which was a higher level TR cap, of 24k. But I feel like they're gonna be here to stay. I just feel like new rank cap organizers, and new like as new TOs in general, some existing ones are probably gonna make changes to the rank cap formula. First thing that I saw, especially after I talked about this, is a lot less of them. I know that Skyla from Tetralympic, as well as Taz, have either reduced or eliminated their prizes for their rank cap brackets, which is something that I initially suggested. Taz, I know, has removed the supporter incentive for winning. They have swapped it to a raffle between all participants. So one participant in each Taz event, or depending on how much they fund for prizing, will grab a supporter. It will be randomly chosen, not based on placement. And Tetralympic, I think, instead of, they will be reducing or removing the trophy or medal component for rank capped brackets. So those are just some things to think about. That action has already been taken. I also feel like there will be a larger gap between signups closing and the event starting, to give time for TOs and Tetrio staff to scrutinize players' accounts. And even so, just the rank cap in general is something that's going to be very susceptible to abuse. So we just need to be careful and very proactive before, during, and even after the event, to make sure that we're keeping our eyes on things and making sure that people are acting legitimately and cordially. But those are the things that have happened so far. I think in the future, some might even become more strict in rank cap tournaments and prizing for rank cap tournaments. And I feel like new TOs will probably feel less inspired to run a rank capped event. They'd rather run an open just because it's much easier, and all that stuff.
Going forward, we also have some tools that are hopefully gonna be able to be used eventually to help eliminate the Smurfs and figure out more and more robust methods to catch Smurfs before they make a like real impact on the tournament in the end. And there's a lot of stuff that's like in the pipeline surrounding that kind of thing, and especially after tournaments like some of the recent-ish Underdogs Cups and Over Under and stuff like that, it feels like really important that if we want to continue this kind of format, regardless of whether or not we have prize pools or whatever, that we like have more for moderation and keeping things in line.
I just feel like moderation and scrutiny is just going to increase with this. Oz commented in chat, which is why I even said it, that bannered rank cap tournaments will be like required by them to have an earlier sign off cutoff, and they will also be happy to assist in doing alter or Smurf checks for these bannered and partner tournaments. One thing that I also love is how the staff team is becoming more willing to assist those kinds of operations for certain partner tournaments. I really do enjoy seeing that. Shows that they care about the community involvement and operation of the game, to the extent where they take their own time away from potentially game issues to handle that, even though it's not necessarily directly Tetrio affiliated, and the point where their staff team isn't running it, they're still willing to help the community like that. I think it's a nice move from them, and I'm very glad that it has been chosen. But yeah, Charles' a sine wave for that, talking to Chad about it being a successful time killer, but it's also something that I feel like we would have ended up talking about later before we closed the episode, or it would have been talked about in future.
Yeah.
So to get out of the way.
Thank you, sign.
Just shout outs.
Yeah.
All right, we're killing him. Let's
Alright.
bring Matt back in.
All right, we're gonna run Matt
Right.
back.
Invite to speak. That was great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hopefully they don't get sniped frame one again.
Yeah.
We're waiting on Matt, folks.
Yeah, we're gonna see. Discord stage is very interesting.
There he is.
There he is.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm on my phone and it's very, very loud.
You're good, Matt. You're good.
Kadon
Loud and
Tetra
clear.
tournament vibe.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, you have a question and comments. What is up?
I've made my comments in chat, but I don't know. It seems to be that this is the only thing I want to say because I don't feel like this really came across. For anyone that read all of my stuff that I just wrote down in like Twitch chat, regarding my ban and all the harassment and cheating I've done, I want to reiterate that's not at all what I'm talking about in Twitch chat when I'm talking about what staff should have maybe done differently or should do better in the future. What I am talking about is about the Gestures Discord conversation. I feel like that conversation, obviously excluding me from that conversation, that would be perfectly fine. Should have been picked up somewhere and it should have been talked about, just the suspicions, in an environment where it's like safe from unintentionally harassing anybody, right? That's all I'm saying. That is my
Right.
entire.
Um,
We're very much past this now, and what's happened has happened. You can't change it. But I think this is a takeaway that wasn't really discussed before that could be very useful for future events if they do crop up.
Right. I'll expand on this a bit since I was there in the gestures discussion. So, if you actually go through and like fully read everything that was discussed, no one ever said or like implied that furries should be harassed in any way, shape, or form. People actively took measures against that. So like, for example, I was wondering maybe we should ask furry for a hand cam, and then someone said, that could like easily turn into bullying, so we shouldn't. And it was a very civil thing. And then Mr. Oz, or it's Osk, right? Is it Osk or OSK? I don't want to like mispronounce it. But
Either
they
is fine.
Okay, yeah. OSK joined and we had a bit of a discussion, and that's I believe that's what Matt's referring to. Dude, okay, my God, stop laughing at me, people. I heard by
man.
someone that OSK wants to be called Osk. I don't know if that's true or not.
But all right. But yeah.
In terms of like involvement from mods, I think we're slowly but surely getting to the right place in terms of understanding like what the like third party folks like me and Matt want and what Tetrio staff want, and we're getting to a happy medium. Slowly.
Right.
but
Yeah,
surely.
for sure. I hold no strong opinion on whether Justice Discord conversation could be considered harassment or not, but I do agree that it could very easily spiral into like full-on harassment and bullying. And I think I agree that these conversations should be avoided publicly. In retrospect, Justice Discord conversation really should have never happened, and I fully agree with that. I just think that once you see that this conversation occurring, instead of it just being straight up shut down, it should be transported over into a safe space where with
Right.
Tetris staff specifically, where it's safe to actually talk about the suspicions.
So like the mod team
That's
instead
what
of
I'm trying to like get across.
yeah, so instead of like the mod team kind of saying just don't talk about this at all, it's more so
I agree it shouldn't be talked
drag
about
us
there.
in, and
I do think
it's
the
more of a
convo should be
collaboration.
elsewhere. That's all I was trying to say.
Right. Two other people have their hand up. I believe this is in relation to the current conversation.
Yeah,
Glitchy in
potentially.
mine.
We can bring in Glitchy first, I think.
Yeah, I think Glitchy has like another separate sort of comment. Potentially.
Oh, Glitchy, did you have another separate comment?
Actually, about the separate comment, I think mine has that one. I have a comment that is similar to the cheating stuff that happened, even though not quite right in that same bucket, but like close to it. So if you want actually a second another kind of topic to talk about before I talk with this one, you should actually bring in mine first.
Oh no, we can continue on with this one. I was reading from
Yeah.
your
Oh, okay.
messages earlier. Feel free.
Okay, so I kind of got caught in the fire on Twitter when all this stuff happened. I think it was after the J3 part of everything.
Yeah.
I talked about discussing exploits in the public. There's this thing. How do I say it? Let's imagine like something like a browser. If you don't actually discuss with the team that develops the browser of an exploit like privately, and you just post the exploit in the wild, many people are gonna exploit that. It's not like a 0 day. Somebody just didn't give a disclosure time to actually get the devs to fix that kind of problem. I felt that what happening here was a disclosure of, let's say, the exploits that were used or were supposed to how do I say it? My English is lacking. Give me a second.
It's all good.
Yeah, it's fine.
You're
It's
good,
fine.
you're good.
The exploits that were supposed to be used to actually shift those inhuman records were being discussed in public, and I was like, okay, you shouldn't do this. I am quote unquote a self-certified developer, and I find that when coming to the specific exploits, you shouldn't discuss those publicly, because if you do before you discuss with the developers, you can actually have more widespread cheating that can get more quickly out of control. Because one would say, okay, we didn't know this method works, so we're gonna use it and we're gonna abuse it. That's how I
Right.
see it.
So question for you, Glitchy. Did you fully read through the Gestress conversation?
I still have to, because I only read snippet. But my point isn't the actual J3 discussion. It's just like the actual discussion of the speed hacking, for example, specifically speed
So-
hacking.
Yeah. So in that conversation, I can only speak on that because that's the only thing I was involved in. No one provided any details on how you would go about speed hacking or doing it. People,
Not-
the most
okay.
anyone said was, it's possible Furry may have speed hacked. That's about like the most anyone said.
That was
And
a question, and as far as I remember, I read, because okay, that was in there. That was answered, and that's one dangerous part.
sorry, could you repeat that?
Okay. The thing that was said, that you said, was a question like, is it true that blah 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 Tetris speed hacks? And as I read correctly, if I read correctly, the question was answered. So I think that's still dangerous as well.
Okay, yeah, someone asked, is it true that Tetris fails to detect speed hack? And I said yes to that, which I will admit that was wrong on my end. My thought was either Tetris does fail to detect speed hack, or Tetris doesn't fail to detect speed hack, and the mods kind of just didn't do anything about it detecting. But I realize now it's a different system. But on your point about going to the mods, a lot of people did go to the mods, and I mean, there's a screenshot of one of the mods saying, "We've looked into everything we can," or something along the lines of, "We've looked into everything we can."
Okay, I can
And
see. Yeah.
our position still hasn't changed. So it was at that point that people then went into, people then started discussing their suspicions, which I've talked to quite a bit of people, and I agree now that you shouldn't discuss them publicly, but there should be more of a collaborative effort from the mod team and the community.
My understanding of it, honestly, is that people will just tend to build their own interpretations of like basically anything that gets said in a chat room or like in a DM that gets like tossed around out of context in general. And then it's hard to be able to get out of that little bubble that you build for yourself. And again, we are getting there. It is just a slow process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say that this was a learning experience for everyone. I mean,
Yeah.
I would
Mhm.
actually say that in the grand scheme of things, everyone was wrong about something in the rationale, to say it some way.
Tell 'em.
Yeah.
Everybody
So
was wrong.
true.
There is no. I mean, some people they are right and they are wrong in their own. And I am completely neutral about this because I would say that I am also wrong, especially for actually starting in on Twitter. But
Yeah.
but like okay, that those were honest mistakes and we are going to learn from it. However, I want to stress something. If you find an exploit and you report it like formally, privately, something like that, without actually using it on the wild, you can even get rewarded. This is true for many development projects, like how I said earlier, browsers, games. In fact, Tetris has a bug bounty hunter. So if you find an exploit that can actively like damage something in the game, you can actually get rewarded for reporting it to the devs, and after they fix it, you can actually disclose it.
Right.
Mm. Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
that's absolutely fair. It's just something that we will have to get better at coordinating as a community in the future, especially with people who do want to be involved as third parties, sort of, in creating these investigations. A lot of these third parties have the technical skills needed to create a good and solid investigation. I think
Right.
we will need to, in future, build a better bridge between these willing, legitimate, trusted community members and the staff of the official games that they will have to be handling instance with.
Yeah, in general, there needs to be better communication from all sides. But
Mhm.
I mean, I would say that after this, we're definitely going to do something about
Yeah,
that.
the
Yeah,
furry
yeah.
situations especially
Yeah.
made us a lot more aware of what we'll need to do in the future. I'd like to thank both
Mhm.
of you guys for coming up here. We have mine who requested to speak. I would like to bring them up before we keep rambling for too long.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just want to thank you guys for coming on. First time using the stage here. So yeah, really appreciate it.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, welcome.
I'm sorry,
on.
I'm a little,
Hey,
I'm a little
mine.
nervous, so I might.
Oh,
Sorry.
big fan of the channel.
Yes.
Content's fire, he said.
Excellent.
So okay, so I have a question. Not regarding this, completely different. I don't want to follow that line of conversation because it's been talked to death. But my question is about how do you think the developer community can help to improve the integrity of the community as a whole?
Mm.
So, for example, I've shared privately about the idea of not without like casual chatting, without actually like exposing the idea as a serious thing, but like I've shared the idea of a cross-platform ban list for grave offenses. I'm unsure if this would be a positive thing. So, what I want to say is, what ways will you propose for closer collaboration with CEOs and other community managers and the games and game developers themselves, and how to improve discussion upon these things?
Guess I can start here. I feel like to create that idea of a cross-platform ban list first, connections will need to be established from developer to developer. That will need to happen first, because let's say you want the next Tetra Dev Studio game, Gestrus and Tetrio, to have like a unique, succinct system for sharing information about offending players. A connection will need to be established, and potentially you might even want to build a backend platform for yourselves to keep logs of these incidents, which you will then, as a group, probably take initiative to reach out to the largest TOs and community leaders who you feel like could benefit or could provide valuable information. And then from there, I feel like this is not necessarily a hard thing technically to do, but it's going to involve a lot of cordial communication and consistent communication between different developers and community leaders. It will be hard to establish, but I think once it gets going, it would be a very positive and beneficial thing. especially once all the developers link up, it's going to be easy to reach out to community leaders. So I feel like the main barrier for that to happen is the developers to link up themselves, be willing to have an information pipeline like that with other devs, and also the structure that they all agree on and want to use for the storage of this information. I think once that's solved, it'll be fairly easy.
It's also difficult because making a unified ban list like this is costing, and this has happened within like TO 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 stuff before as well. You're sacrificing some of your own autonomy and your own decision making, because sometimes like the general, like the others will think that this thing deserves a ban, but you won't. Or you think that this person like really should be out of here, but nobody seems to agree with you. Like, do you deviate from the ban list, or do you try to convince them, or do you let it slide, even though it makes you like wildly uncomfortable to have them in your group?
It would also be a good distinction between a unified ban list or like an information database about players where TOs and devs can enter information, but they don't necessarily feel obligated to act on anything provided just on the sole basis of the list. You know, because we talked earlier about Tetris partner tournaments and, you know, issuing sanctions on players based on their activity in the tournament. Tetris could want to do that with an offending player there. That shouldn't necessarily mean that the developer of another game should feel any more pressured than they would at face value if that was entered into the database to take action themselves. So I feel like it's a good distinction to have between unifying bans between games or creating just a database where developers and TOs can share information with each other, and then they act independently based on the shared information. But I definitely think that the latter of what I just discussed would be very beneficial. I feel like the former would take away some autonomy. This might not necessarily be a thing that devs or TOs would want, but at least having the list itself to share information would be beneficial. Moose in chat chiming in saying, my hot take is that a ban list should be public except for cases of when a victim is involved and you need to protect their identity. I think that is true, but I also think that in terms of sharing between trusted TOs who developers choose in a unity of developers across different games, that some of that classified information would need to be shared. So I feel like at that point, it would be up to the individual game devs to publish their own list of actions taken for their own game, which can be publicly viewable by the community, and then a separate database with more sensitive, potentially topics that major tournament organizers and other game developers and game staff could access. You just have to make sure that you're dividing the data correctly, and that this data is, you know, the certain data that is private is going to be kept private at all costs. But yeah, potentially also on a need-to-know basis, as Aftermoon commented. It just depends, and depending on if this project does indeed happen between developers in the future, I think we'll learn more about exactly how we as a community would want this to work, because this is all just a hypothetical. But regardless, I think at least having one for major TOs and community leaders to be shared with devs and vice versa would be very beneficial. Just a list or a database. But privacy must be respected if a list like that would ever go public, or portions of that list would go public. But I really appreciate a developer like mine who's been working on major projects coming in for this perspective, asking a question on, I believe, something that could come important, especially as our community grows, just to make sure that all major event organizers, community leaders, and game developers are in the same, we're all in the same boat, especially as we grow larger. The more large we grow, it's just going to be even harder to stay in the loop. So I think at one point, this might even be needed material for our community leaders and game developers to access. But yeah, thank you, Mike, for the question. I really appreciate it. Shout outs. And yeah,
Shout out's mine.
just shout outs to mine.
Yeah.
But
Thanks, everyone.
I think as far as like creating a unified ban list goes, like I would like to see it happen, if only because I think half bans are very similar in effectiveness to not banning someone at all, which is to say it doesn't work.
so true.
Like for something to stick, a lot of it involves like being able and willing and having other people be willing to see the whole thing through. Or else you're just, what are you really doing? You're banning someone from half of a community. You're only not letting them eat the right side of the pie. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah. Let's see if we get any more questions here. If not, then we'll wrap this one up. Been 2 hours on the show so far, so as well give a shout out to everyone who's listened, supported Talking Pieces now since the first episode. Doing an announcement after this, we are going to work on archiving our episodes to YouTube and audio platforms. So if you're a new audio listener, potentially come live on our Twitch every other Tuesday, twitch.tv/Puzzle Kingdom, broadcasting usually at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time or Eastern Standard Time.
This one happened a little early because I have work later.
Yeah, we just had a couple of scheduling conflicts, but usually between probably 5 and 7 p.m. Eastern on every other Tuesday. We alternate with a biweekly Puyo tournament in the community, which is also really cool. So do check that out. We do have some promotional content to kind of go over as well. Starting off this weekend, got Sakura Blend, major event here from Puzzle Kingdom. You got 2 fighting games, 2 puzzle games, Skullgirls and Tetrio on the first day, Puyo Puyo and Guilty Gear on the second day. Stay tuned this weekend, because those could be some really hype events. And if you have any of these games, be sure to sign up. sakurablend.moe as where you'll get that sign up. And next, on the Friday, I'm hosting a Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 doubles tournament on the Switch. So if you're interested in this, 2x2.galactic.moe/pvt1, there will be 1 Puyo player and 1 Tetris player to a team. So if this is something that interests you, go check that out. Should be a fun tournament. And finally, you may have seen them at WPL SoCal this weekend. Got these hype Puzzle Kingdom jerseys. If you go to any of the Sakura Blend prize pools, you can pick one of these up. Or WPL prize pools if they're still open. But buy them from Sakura Blend, because those tournaments don't have like $4,000 in money yet. So
do you know who has these?
Who has them
I
so
know
far?
Kaboozled has
I
one.
think Kaboozled. Does Zynex have one?
Zynex has one.
Yeah.
She was wearing it at the LAN.
Yeah, I figured I
That's
saw that on
crazy.
cam. Tag now has one, unfortunately shipped hours after he flew to California.
Yeah.
I feel Flood picked one up, I believe, on one of the WPL prize pools. Yeah, and more of these are open to sell. Come support Sakura Blend, pick one of these up. Design, even here on the images and in person, looks absolutely fire. I hope to see like an army of 35 people who go to the Columbus tournament just wearing these.
It's how you show your individuality, is you wear the matching jersey with everybody else.
Yeah,
But it has your name on it. So
yeah,
it's
and the
special.
number, it's customizable, Renge.
Yeah, you
How
could
many
have the-
people
you
are
could have
going to
the
show up to the
Funky
Columbus
number.
land with 69 on their jersey? That's what I'm saying.
Weed.
I
like
yeah.
weed number.
Yes. I don't know. I'm debating putting mine as like 68. Just to be very slightly different.
Look at
when I
this
pick my numbers.
guy.
What a guy.
What a guy.
She's suggesting 70. I mean, I don't know. It's up for debate, but still. I think this
Does that see whole
also.
numbers?
I think this also puts some inspiration. I don't know how many numbers you can actually fit in the bag. I think it's only 2. I don't know.
Oh.
But
Sad.
I do think that this design is very nice. I hope it puts some inspiration in other community leaders to potentially explore the vehicle of producing merch clothing, because
You're just subtweeting me. You're just subtweeting. Shut up.
Okay. Listen, man. I didn't know if you were gonna talk about this. I thought it had to be mentioned. I will say I hope that there's Fire Team TSD merch coming out that I may or may not have already seen the designs for if Wrench decides to sell them.
When?
I'm getting one
When
for
Wrench
free.
decides to sell them? Okay, this is
I'm getting one for free.
I better get one for free as well, even though I did nothing to deserve
What
it. But yeah, I just hope that we see more of this, because I think merch is a great way to raise money for crowdfunded prize pools. You see it with a bunch of Smash events and stuff. But yeah,
prize pools and like other community endeavors as well.
Yeah.
I think merch is definitely like a avenue that we've generally underexplored, and I'm working on it.
PC gang merch
Gas money
coming
for
soon.
Jim Belushi.
Yeah.
Payback.
but yeah, as we wrap up this episode on the Twitch stream, we're gonna drop it right over to Caboozled.
Ooh, I know that guy.
Streaming some Tetris Effect Connected practice. But anyways, I'd like to thank all of you for watching episode 2 of Talking Pieces. We'll be back in 2 weeks for our 3rd episode, still discussing internally what the topic of that will be, but be sure to check out the PK Twitter. We tweet everything. We tweet if like a fly lands on Moose's Nintendo Switch. So we might not be able to run
before
the
you
timer.
wait, Glitchy wanted to say something real quick.
Oh, alright.
Hold on.
That's an invite to speak. Alright, there we go.
Bring him
thank you.
in. What's up, Glitchy?
Yo, hoy, listen to me. I want to say something. I am doing this because not even Range now is it. Range, I am speaking to you. Listen to me. And reserve the chat, of course. I am going to make you a free shirt if you ask me in the next 30 minutes.
If I ask you in the next 30 minutes, you're gonna make me a free shirt?
Yes.
Free shirt, dude.
Reg, you better
Hold on,
you
where
better
are you
come
in
with
my
a
DM?
stupid
Because I said
design.
All right.
He's typing
All
right
right.
now.
Okay. I got it. I already sent the message. I know what I'm gonna do. It's gonna be stupid.
Okay,
You guys are all
before
gonna
you run
buy
out
it
of
'cause
time
you
on
hate
Twitch,
life.
thank you all for watching.
Okay,
Yeah.
oh my god, I've been shot. See ya.
Alright, we got about 5
Later,
seconds left. We'll see you all over in Caboozle's
All right.
chat. Support them. They've helped us out a lot.
Join PC Open too. Ah.
So
When's this
true.
open too?
Forgot to put that on the promotion. I feel so bad.